Assalamu alaikum, may peace be with you. I hope you're well. Today, inshallah, we are going to talk about an amazing topic of human psychology, which was discussed in the Quran more than 1400 years ago, and it was only in 1947 that this part of human psychology, the collective psychology of human beings, was recognized and given a name. And today we know this as the rat race. Rat race is a pointless pursuit, a fierce competition and struggle for wealth and power. And it's amazing that Quran recognizes it more than 1400 years ago and talks about it in a whole surah dedicated to it. The surah is Surah 102, AT TAKATHUR, and it is one of the most comprehensive messages about the human psychology and the human society which has ever been given by any religion. And I must say, to my best of knowledge, no other religion has ever discussed this topic in the dedication and detail which Quran has given to it. So let's talk about At Takathur and the rat race. So the very first ayah is LAHU Takathur, and the second ayah is Hatta Zurtumul Maqabir. You can see the both ayahs, they rhyme with each other. And the message in both ayahs, it has to be read together. So the message is split into two ayahs, but it is one whole message. So, Alhaakumut Takathur, you are distracted by the competition for more and more, Hatta Zurtumul Maqabir, until you visit the graves. And the most amazing feature of these two ayahs is that there are actually 6 messages in this one message. So the one message which says you are distracted by the competition for more and more until you visit the graves is actually 6 messages. And we're going to talk about how beautifully Allah Ta'ala has summarized 6 messages in these 2 sentences. But first, let us talk about every ayah word by word. So, Alhaakumut Takathur. The word Alha comes from LAHU, and LAHU means an entertainment, but not any entertainment. LAHU is an entertainment which distracts you from other important tasks in life. So, for example, when you're having video games or online gaming on your mobiles, that is LAHU. It distracts you from the essential and important things in life. And the human life and the pursuits of human life have been described by Allah in other places in the Quran in similar way. In Surah Al-Hadid, which is the 57th surah, meaning the iron, and one day we'll talk about the miraculous mention of iron and its importance in planet Earth, which is explained by the Quran. But in Surah Al-Hadid, ayah number 20, Allah Ta'ala says, "I'lamu annamal hayatu dunya lahibun wa lahwa," which means, know that the life of this world is but a play and entertainment. And this is an amazing example. Think of a game, think of any play and entertainment. For example, a game of Monopoly or chess or Ludo that people are playing. So you have people sitting around the board and they are fiercely competitive and they're distracted from everything else. They don't want to eat, they don't want to drink, they don't want to sleep. They are just focused on that game. And whoever is winning in that game thinks he is better than the others. But a time comes when the game is over and the game board is wrapped up and people walk away. After a while, another group of people will come and sit and play the same game and take it as seriously as the previous group. But they too will have to leave that game board. They can't sit there forever. And a third group will come. And this will go on for years after years and generations after generation. And that is what the life of this world is like. This world is like a big game board. We come here and we are competing with each other in making houses and properties and wealth and money and status, and someone is number 1 and someone else is a number 2 and number 3, and then people who are considered to be losers. But end of the day, we all leave this game, and another generation and different kind of people who may or may not be related to us come and play the same game as seriously as we do. The land and the house in which you live belong to someone else before you and would belong to someone else after you. And every one of them would possess it and claim it and be in love with it as much as you are. Yet it doesn't belong to anyone and it belongs to everyone. Just as the Quran said, the life of this world is but a play and entertainment. So al-hakum means you have been distracted. So lahu is an entertainment which distracts you, and kum means you. The second word is AT TAKATHUR, alhaakumut takasur. And takasur comes from the word kasra, which means plentiful and abundant. In combination, it means that you have been distracted by the competition for more and more. And the word kasra, from which takasur comes, which is a plural of the plural, that means an increase in anything tangible or intangible. So if you have money, you can see it. And if you have status, you can only reflect it. Status is not something you can see with your eyes. You can only see the effects of status. Or if you have power, or if you have authority, that is something invisible. So anything visible or invisible, when it is in abundance, it's called kasra or takasur. And there is a saying of the Prophet narrated by Abi bin Ka'b to Ibn Jarir and then mentioned by Imam Bukhari, that if the son of Adam has two valleys full of material goods, full of wealth, he would wish for a third one, which means that the human strive and greed has no limits. And in Quran, the material goods of the world, the wealth of the world, it has been termed as mata'ud dunya. And the word mata is a beautiful word which in traditional Arabic is used for something that you use and leave. Something which is useful for getting some work done. For example, if you have a dishwashing brush or a scorer or a cloth or a sponge you clean the dishes with, that is known as mata. So it's a tool. And the concept of Quran is that all the blessings and all the wealth that you're giving in this life, they are tools to achieve certain aims and objectives. And that's how they should be used. For example, if you have a dishwashing brush, you're not going to take it to bed with you in the night. And you're not going to collect more and more dishwashing brushes unless you need more or the old one doesn't serve the purpose anymore. So everything in life you should have it for a purpose. It should not be to compete with each other. It should not be to hoard. It should not be to make yourself look superior. And this is what is known as a rat race. There's an American journalist, columnist and novelist by the name of John Franklin Carter, also known as J. Franklin. He, in 1947, he coined this term rat race, a fiercely competitive struggle for wealth and power, which is endless, which is self-defeating, and is a pointless pursuit. The second ayah is hatta zurtumul maqabir. Hatta means until. Zurtum means go visit. Zurtum comes from the word ziyara. Ziyara is to meet someone, to greet someone, to visit someone, but you're not staying there. You just go visit and come back. That is ziyara. And the word al-maqabir comes from the word maqbara, which means graveyard. And qabr means a grave. Maqabir means graveyards. So many graveyards are known as maqabir. Now, the question arises, why did God say that you visit the graveyards? Why didn't God say that you go to the graveyards? And the secret lies in the word ziyara, which means visiting, that you would come back. So the message here is that even when you go to the graveyards, you're not going to stay there forever. And everyone is going to be resurrected on the day of judgment. Now, before we go into the 6 meanings which are hidden in these 2 ayahs, I would like to give you an example from modern day life, something that we can all relate to. And you'll understand what alhaakumut takasur is, what is this pointless pursuit and competition that humans have with each other. When you're on the motorway, traveling in a car, especially when you're a kid, your biggest desire is to get ahead of the other cars. You want your car to overtake every car on the road, on the motorway, and be ahead of them. And when you have a journey, as a kid especially, you are obsessing with it. And sometimes you might even tell the driver, whether it's your dad or uncle or mother or aunt, you say, get ahead of this car, go faster, go faster. You want to be number one. And sometimes, in fact, many a times, even when you grow up, that attitude stays with you. And even when you are driving by yourself or with your family, you are irritated by the cars in front of you. This car is going very slow. This car is just too big. I want to overtake this truck. I want to be in front of this car. But come to think of it, no matter how many cars you overtake and you get ahead of, there's always going to be some car in front of you. And even if you do achieve a point in your journey when there's no car ahead of you, you'll have a very empty feeling. You're not going to feel very happy that there's no car ahead of you. And it's not going to last for long. Sooner or later, some other car would come in front because they have had an earlier start than you. They have hit the road ahead of you. And when you are in this race of getting ahead of every car, eventually your journey ends and you come home. And you realize that during that journey, you missed all the fun. You didn't look around. You were focused on getting ahead of one car and another car and another car. LAHU TAKATHUR, the pointless pursuit of being number one, of being competitive with each other. And you missed all the valleys and the mountains and the waterfalls and the rivers and the bridges which came by. You did not even stop for a break. You did not talk to the people in the car. You did not enjoy the journey. And it was all about a pointless competition. And this is exactly what human life is like. No matter how good you get, no matter how much wealth you have, how much power you have, you'll always have someone ahead of you because somebody's had a head start. Or even if you have got no one ahead of you and you're the richest man in the world, you might not be the cleverest man in the world. And if you're the cleverest man in the world, you might not be the most powerful man in the world. And if you're the most powerful man of the world, superpower president or prime minister, you may still not be the most educated person in the world. There's always going to be someone in some field who's ahead of you. And when you have this pointless pursuit in life, all life long, one day we realize that our journey has ended and we've spent all that journey in a pointless competition and not enjoyed the travel by itself, not enjoyed life as it should have been. We've not paid attention to anything else. We have been distracted by this pointless entertainment. And that is what LAHU TAKATHUR conveys to us. And with that, now let's go to the 6 secret messages in this ayah. And this is the balagha, the rhetoric of the Quran, that in 2 ayahs, which are only consisting of 5 words, God has given 6 different messages. So, أَلْهَاكُمُ التَّكَاثُرُ, you are distracted by the greed for more and more, حَتَّى زُرْتُمُ الْمَقَابِرِ, until you go visit the graves. That's the first meaning. A pointless pursuit in life till you end up dying and being buried in some graveyard. But there is a second meaning, and this meaning is deducted from one of the narrations by Abu Huraira, who told Ibn Abi Hatim, both of them are companions of the Prophet. He said that in Medina there were 2 tribes known as Bani Harisa and Bani al-Haras, and they used to compare their heroes and compete about them, and then they would go to the graveyards and they would start a comparative analysis of their dead ancestors, a kind of an ancestor worship kind of thing. And interestingly, it's not just Bani Harisa and Bani al-Hirs. Even today, we do the same. We all have our own national heroes. We think our martyred soldiers are more brave than the other nations, and we have bigger heroes in our country. And we talk about them, the freedom fighters, the heroes of our country, the legends. And every nation is competing with the other nations, saying, our heroes are bigger than yours. Our leaders were bigger than yours. So that's the second meaning. The third meaning, which comes from Ibn Abbas, who is another companion of the Prophet, he says that this sentence could also be read as a question. Instead of saying, أَلْهَاكُمُ التَّكَاثُرُ حَتَّى زُرْتُمُ الْمَقَابِرِ, you can say, أَلْهَاكُمُ التَّكَاثُرُ حَتَّى زُرْتُمُ الْمَقَابِرِ. Is this what distracts you from life, the competition with each other, trying to be number one, till you end up in your graves? How foolish is that? Like you have some people sitting playing a game of Monopoly or chess or Ludo, and they've missed their train, and they've missed their lunch, and they've missed an opportunity to go to work. And you ask them, is this entertainment distracting you with the competition for each other, and you are missing on so many other things in life? The fourth meaning, ألهاكم التكاثر حتى زرتم المقابر. You are distracted by the greed for more and more and mutual competition till you visit the graves and you realize that life is very short and nobody takes anything with them. Even the number one most wealthiest, most powerful person in the world ends up in the same graveyard as the less worthy, the less powerful, and the less wealthy. And this realization, the pointless pursuit of competition, comes to us when we do visit the graveyards, when a near and dear one, a loved one dies and we go to bury them. And we suddenly realize how useless this competition in life is. Number 5, and I hope I've got the numbers right because I'm losing count here. ألهاكم التكاثر حتى زرتم المقابر. You are obsessed and distracted by the greed for more and more and competing with each other till this competition is reflected in your graveyards. You make elaborate tombs, you make pyramids, you mummify the bodies, you have special burial chambers, you put marble epitaphs on the graves and you do carvings on them. Even people who burn the bodies, they buy expensive cremation jars, they put the ashes in those jars and they display them in the house in a prominent place. And they're even competing about the dead. And nowadays, there are many, many other ways of showing this off. Like people say, I'm going to spread these ashes over the ocean, I'm going to spread them over some land or some desert. There are even memorial reef. So what you do is you mix the ashes with concrete and make reefs in the sea, so that sea life and fish, they can come and they can live there. But that is very expensive and it's not good for the environment because the amount of energy you spend, the amount of carbon dioxide emission you have with burning the bodies and mixing the ashes with the concrete and then making those reefs, this is all just a competition. You even want the burial to be different and better than other people. You want it to be exquisitive. You want it to be better. You want fame and you want competition even when it comes to burials. And this brings us to number 6. Now, number 5 was a statement that you compete till even to the graveyards, making tombs and elaborate ways of burying and burning the bodies. And number 6 is a question. And the question is, have you become so greedy in the competition with each other, ألهاكم التكاثر حتى زرتم المقابر, that now you have taken this competition to the dead and the graveyards? As if this pointless, silly pursuit of competition in life was not enough, you've extended it to the dead. Have you ever stopped and thought how pointless this is? And it is an amazing literary miracle of the rhetoric of the Quran, how beautifully Allah has given us 6 different messages in just these 2 ayahs in 5 words. The next 2 ayahs are like a different paragraph because the rhyming has changed. So the first one was ألهاكم التكاثر حتى زرتم المقابر. Takasur, maqabir, rhyme together. Next one is كلا سوف تعلمون ثم كلا سوف تعلمون. And تعلمون is repeated, so this is a different paragraph. And the topic has changed a bit. So what is كلا سوف تعلمون? This means, nevertheless, soon in time, you will come to understand. Kalla means nevertheless. Sofa means soon in time. Ta'lamun, you will come to understand. And the message is repeated but in a different way in the next ayah. Summa kalla sofa ta'lamun. And once again, nevertheless, soon in time, you will come to understand. So God is saying, you are going to understand how useless this competition and pursuit is twice. Once when you die, and you find out how pointless it was to compete with people in the world. And the second one, when you will be resurrected on the day of judgment, you will realize once again, when your deeds are presented to you, that pointless pursuit, the competition and trying to be ahead of everyone else, it served you no purpose in life and does not serve you any purpose in the life hereafter. So twice we are going to realize how pointless it is. Once when we realize how pointless it was in life, and the second time when we find out it's even more pointless for the life hereafter. Ayah number 5, 6, 7 and 8 are a different paragraph because the rhyming scheme is different. Ayah number 5 ends in YAQEEN, Ayah number 6 ends in Jahim, Ayah number 7 ends in YAQEEN, and Ayah number 8 ends with Naeem. So it's YAQEEN, Jahim, YAQEEN, Naeem. So that is a different topic now. Related to the previous topic, but a different discussion. So ayah number 5, Kalla law ta'lamuna ilmal yaqeen. Simple translation, Kalla, nay. Law ta'lamuna, only if you could understand it, ilmal yaqeen, with an understanding born of certainty, with a certainty of mind, with real knowledge and sure knowledge. The word used here is ilmal yaqeen. Now, yaqeen is knowledge with understanding. For a Muslim, there are 3 levels. First is Islam, when we accept the religion, but we may or may not understand and strongly believe in it. The second part is Iman, when one develops an understanding of the religion, and now you accept it with understanding. And the third part is Yaqeen, which is above Iman, when we understand with knowledge. It's not just a simple understanding, but we have knowledge to understand it, and it is a firm belief, Yaqeen. But there are 3 types of Yaqeen, and this is something which is unique to Islam, and other literatures and languages do not have this concept. So the first, which is mentioned here, is ilm al-yaqeen, which is understanding with knowledge. For example, you know what snow looks like. When you are a child, you've seen pictures of snow, you've heard snow is white and cold, and you've seen it in storybooks. It's white, cold stuff known as snow. That is ilm al-yaqeen. You have knowledge and understanding. There's something which falls from the sky, is white and cold. Ayn al-yaqeen, when the first time in life you see snowfall or you see snow, then you've seen it. Ayn means eyes. So now your knowledge with understanding is backed up by vision. You have seen it and you know exactly what snow looks like, how it falls, and how white it is. And the third is haqq al-yaqeen. And that is a level when for the first time in your life you touch the snow. And once you touch it, you feel the texture. You know snow is soft, but when you touch it, you realize what kind of softness it is. It's not soft like a feather. It's not soft like a sponge. It's a very different kind of softness. And you know snow is cold, but when you touch it, you realize how cold it is. It's not cold like a cold drink. It is freezingly cold. And that is haqq al-yaqeen. That is the height of yaqeen, when you have seen and when you have touched and felt it. But here Allah says that you are going to find out with ilm al-yaqeen. So you are going to have the knowledge and understanding when you die and you're resurrected of how pointless this pursuit and competition in life was. Next ayah, number 6, has only 2 words. لَتَرَوْنَّ الْجَحِيمِ. You would indeed most certainly see the blazing fire. And this is a reference to hell. Now, the word Jahim is different from Jahannam. You remember we talked about Jahannam, which means a rubbish pit, somewhere where you throw the stuff which is useless. And we said Jahannam, according to Islam, hell has got 2 regions. One is extremely hot with fire, and one is freezingly cold, known as Zamharir. But Jahim is the hot part, and it's the blazing fire of the hot part. And where does Jahim comes from? Very interesting. The word Jahim comes from Jaham, and Jaham is the stare of a lion before he eats his prey. Now, once upon a time, when Arabia used to be lush green, about 7,000 to 9,000 years ago, There were a lot of lions in the Arabian Peninsula. Even at the time of the Prophet, there were some lions, and his uncle Hamza used to hunt them. And he used to carry the head of a lion and a lion skin on his back that he had hunted. Now they're, of course, all gone. There are no more lions there. But they were so abundant in the Arabian Peninsula that the Arabs have 300 different names and terms to describe the personality and the type of lion. For example, if it's a baby lion, a cub, they call it Shibl or Haris. And if it is a chubby cub, a fat baby cub, it's called Farhad. The leader of the pack, the alpha male lion in a pride, is known as Abbas. The lion which is powerful and has leadership qualities is known as Hamza. An angry, moody lion is known as Ghazanfar. And a handsome, fat lion is known as Haidar. And a lion which walks with style and a swagger, prancing while walking, is known as Bahnas. One which is always first to attack and sink his teeth and claws into a fight is known as Basil. And many of these words which describe the lion or the attitude and the stare of the lion, like a Juham, have been used in Quran and in Hadith. So Jahim is the blazing fire which stares you in the face just like a lion does before he attacks. Ayah number 7. Summa lataronnaha aynal yaqeen. Again, in the end, you will indeed most surely behold it with the eye of certainty. Aynal yaqeen. Summa means again, in the end. Lataraunnaha, you are most surely going to see it. Aynal yaqeen, to see with certainty. Again, remember the 3 kinds of yaqeen. Ilm al-yaqeen, the knowledge and understanding, like you read about snow in the storybook. Ayn al-yaqeen, when you see the snow in your life for the first time. And haqq al-yaqeen, when you touch the snow. So Allah has used the word ayn al-yaqeen here, not haqq al-yaqeen. Because haqq al-yaqeen is only for those people who are going to be entering that fire and would feel it. Everyone is going to see Jahannam. Everyone is going to see hell and heaven. That is a promise of Allah. He'll make us all see it. But only those who are criminals are going to be punished in it. And the last ayah most beautifully summarizes the whole idea. Summa latus'alunna yawma idhin anin na'im. Simple meaning is, and on that day you will surely be asked about the pleasures of life. But there's again a literary beauty in this ayah. There is the height of rhetoric here. So listen to this. Summa latusalunna. Summa means definitely, for sure. Latusalunna comes from the Arabic word tusalun, which means you will be asked. But Allah didn't use tusalun. If Allah would have said tusalun, that means you will be asked. If Allah would have said latusaluna, it would be you would be definitely asked. But Allah has said latus'alunna, which means you will definitely be asked. Now summa also means definitely. So what Allah is saying here is definitely you will be asked. But instead of using the word definite 4 times, Allah has used 2 different words which mean the same. Summa latus'alunna. For sure, definitely you will be asked. And what would you be asked and when would you be asked? Yawma izin, on that day, that's when you're going to be asked. And what are you asked about? Anin na'im, about the pleasures and blessings of life. Now here's the beauty of it. You remember the first ayah, we said, LAHU takathur. We are distracted by this competition for more and more. And I gave you an example of driving on the road and trying to get ahead of every car and every truck and every bus in front of you. And I would want to be ahead of this and ahead of that and breaking the speed limits and going faster and faster till you reach your journey. And what have you achieved? Nothing. And when somebody asks you, how was your journey? You say, yeah, it was good. So did you see that river and bridge? No. Did you see that big mountain and that volcano on the way? No, I didn't. Did you see that waterfall you passed by? No. Did you stop somewhere for sightseeing and taking pictures? No. Did you take a break? No, I didn't want to stop because I wanted to get ahead of all the cars. And then they'll ask you, how pointless was that? What did you achieve? All those blessings on the way, that beauty on the way, the rest places, the food, the beautiful scenery where you could have stopped and gone for a walk and taken pictures, or sat down and talked with your family, or during the drive you would have talked with them, or you would have discussed something or listened to some music. You did nothing of that because you were in a pointless competition to get ahead of every car. You were not even paying attention to what is being played on the radio, what songs are going on. You didn't enjoy the moment. Summa latus'alunna yawma izin anin na'im. Then Allah is going to definitely ask you, what about all the blessings I gave you in this world? What did you do with them? How did you utilize them? And you spent all your life in this pointless competition to be better than the other person, to show to the society that you are better in one way or another. And the beauty is, in the first ayah, we are obsessed with what we do not have. LAHU TAKATHUR, more. I don't have more, I want more. I've got this, I want more than this. I want above and beyond this. And the last ayah is, latus'alunna yawma izin anin na'im. Count your blessings. God is going to make you count your blessings. He's not going to talk about what you did not have and what you kept on going for. He's going to ask you, what about you, the things you had? Did you enjoy them? Were you grateful for them? Did you even sit down and reflect on all the things you have? And just being alive is the biggest blessing in the world. If today somebody gives me $1 trillion but tells me I'm going to die tomorrow, that $1 trillion is useless to me. I'm never going to be happy. Or if I'm suffering from severe pain, if I've got appendicitis and I've got severe pain in my abdomen, if you tell me the most funniest jokes in the world, I won't laugh. If you bring me the most beautiful car in the world as a gift, I won't be happy. I've got that pain and it has robbed me of all happiness. The reality of life is counting the blessings we have, not looking at the things that we haven't got or which we want to achieve just to compete with people. And the Prophet Muhammad, may peace be upon him, he was once sitting with his companions and somebody brought him some dates and cold water. And he said to his companions, on the day of judgment, God is going to ask you about these blessings too. Even the food you eat, the water you drink is an amazing blessing. And you're going to be asked for it. Were you grateful for this blessing? Did you ever take it into account? Surah Ibrahim, ayah number 34. وَإِن تَعُدُّوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ لَا تَعْصَوْهَا. If you ever start to count the blessings of Allah, you would never be able to count them. But this ayah is not just about the blessings in the world. Allah is talking about all His blessings. And on that day, He's going to ask about them. So there are blessings in the life hereafter. And there's a hadith of the Prophet which says that on the day of judgment, a man would be brought to God who has never ever been unhappy in his life. He's had no problems. He had a perfect life. You know, the kind of life we all aim for. That man had been blessed with it. There are exceptions to the rule. Usually people have some suffering, some happiness. But this person, from the day he was born till the day he died, he had only seen happiness and pleasure and blessings and no problems. And Allah is going to ask that man, do you know what unhappiness is? What sorrow and grief is? And you'd say, no, my Lord, I've never ever come across any sorrow in my life. And then Allah will tell the angels, show him a vision of hell. Just show him what hell is like. So they'll take him to hell and just show him what hell is like. And he'll come back and Allah will ask him, do you know what pleasure is? And he would say, I have completely forgotten what happiness and pleasure means. And similarly, another man would be brought who's never been happy in his life, who has always had problems. He doesn't know what happiness is. Again, there are rules and exceptions to the rules. Usually, all of us, we have some happiness, some grief. But this poor fella, from the day he's born till the day he died, he had one problem after another. And Allah will ask him, do you know what happiness is? And he'd say, I've never come across it in my life. I have no idea what happiness is. And Allah will tell the angels, take him to heaven and show him paradise and bring him back. So he will see paradise. And when he comes back, Allah will say, tell me what grief and sorrow is, what unhappiness is. And you'd say, I've forgotten all about it. I cannot even remember what grief is like. And remember, happiness has two criteria, time and magnitude. So if you were happy 5 years ago or 2 years ago, even yesterday, today that happiness does not exist. It's just a memory. And magnitude is important. If somebody gives you $1 million, you become very happy. But when you get $1 billion, you forget the happiness of $1 million. You're much happier then. So time and magnitude is important. Past and present for happiness and pain is very important. If today you become the richest person in the world, you would not remember the hardships you've had in life. If somebody tells you about those hardships, you'd say, I'm just too happy to remember them. Somebody tells you, remember the time when you have a headache? And you said, I don't care. I can't remember. And I don't want to remember. I'm so happy right now that all my pains and all my sufferings in the past, I can't remember them and I can't relive them. Similarly, if somebody is suffering from acute pain or has been denied everything in his life, you try to tell them to remember the good times, they'll have a lot of difficulty in doing so. So happiness is relative. And on the day of judgment, God is going to ask us, now tell me what real happiness is. Did the competition in the life and the pointless pursuit of happiness and success mean anything when your life ended? And does it mean anything now? And compare it to what I have got for you now in the life hereafter. And then think what real success means. And with this, we complete the tafsir of Surah AT TAKATHUR, Surah number 102. May Allah give us the right focus and the right understanding of this life and save us from pointless rat races which are going around us all the time. And may Allah give us a true understanding of His religion. Ameen summa ameen. May you and your family always be in the protection and blessings of Allah. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you for everyone who made this effort possible, especially Yasir Salim, who is uploading them on regular basis. Inshallah, we'll meet again next week. Please remember everyone in your prayers. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.